Welcome back. As you may or may not know, I'm known as Eli the Computer Guy, and I have some great news for you today in regards to the Trump tariffs. So, the Trump tariffs were supposed to be 145% against everything coming into the United States from China, but electronics, computers, smartphones, they have been exempted. So, at least for us in the tech world, yay, we've been saved. That's what we were told on Saturday morning. Sunday morning, we were then told, well, there's going to be the exemptions for these technology products for somewhere like 2 months until they figure what tariffs should be on those electronics products. And you're like, oh, okay, well, that's not good, but that's 2 months. That's 2 months. And then we were told this morning that it's gonna be a couple of weeks until the tariffs come online for the technology products. So what do you do as a technology business owner? I do not know. I do not know. This is not globalization versus anti-globalization. This isn't, I don't even know what this is anymore. I stopped knowing what this is quite a long time ago. What I know this is not how factories work. Right? I know there's some of my viewers out there, and they're like, oh, you've got TDS. You've got Trump derangement syndrome. And no, I don't. I've just built crap. This isn't how any of this is done. Think about this. For any homeowners out there, for anybody who actually can own a home, have you ever renovated your house, right? Have you ever put in a new bathroom or put on a porch or whatever else? How long does that take to do? How long does it take from the point where you and your spouse agree that you should add a bathroom to your house? How long until that bathroom is fully certified by the government? It takes a little while. It takes a little. Now imagine being the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar corporation trying to figure out whether or not you should build warehouses or factories or anything else. Do you know the disaster of the permitting and inspection process just for doing stupid little crap at your house? Yeah, now imagine that for a 1,000,000 square foot warehouse, on top of hiring employees and everything else. And then think, you as an executive are trying to figure out what to do, and one moment you've got 20% tariffs. Well, one moment you have no tariffs, 30 years you have no tariffs. And then you've got 20% tariffs, and then you got 55% tariffs, and you have 145% tariffs, and then you have no tariffs until the tariffs come in 2 months, but not really 2 months, maybe a couple of weeks. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do when a senile old loser is trying to drive your country into the ground? I do not know. He is not supposed to have this power. The senile old loser is not supposed to have the power that he is using. But don't worry. It's not like the Democrats. Not like you can go run to the Democrats. Oh, what are you going to do? Vote for the Democrats? Yeah, because Schumer's like, yeah, you know what the Democrats are going to do? They're going to wait until Trump's approval rating drops to 40%. And then they're going to start winning. What is their plan? Who knows? We don't get to know what the Democrats' plan is until Trump's approval rating gets to 40%. So we have one senile old man trying to drive our country into the ground, and we have the other old senile people going, dum. Want to play backgammon? Oh, this is the world we live in. And you have to be thinking about this. Again, macro forces. Again, I talk about the dominoes. The dominoes fallen. And people think it's a joke. They think what I say is a joke until it actually happens. And my buddy I was talking to about all this stuff. And yesterday, I starting to see the new on the news feed where the property market is starting to implode. Where wealthy people are now backing out of contracts they've already signed to buy properties, right? So when you go out to buy a property, you have an amount of time where you can walk the hell away. More and more of the wealthy people are walking away, and the more of the not wealthy people are going, huh? You know, if Trump does all this idiocy to the economy and that drives interest rates down, maybe I'll wait a couple of months to see if I can get a better interest rate. Again, that's the whole thing. We start talking about time shifting the economy, like, oh, tariffs are going to come into effect, and so that brings forward a lot of sales. On the other hand, if you think interest rates are going to drop precipitously, maybe you want to wait. Maybe you want to wait a few months to see what happens with the interest rates. And so then that starts dropping the housing sales, and it just becomes a crap show. It just becomes a crap show. Welcome to the Economic Crap Show. So anyways, I'll be talking about a lot of this kind of stuff probably for a while because we're just gonna get more and more of this. Who knows? Who knows? By the time I upload this video, the tariffs will be probably different. And they think they're winning. They're like, yeah, we're playing 4D chess. The problem is nobody else knows what the hell you're doing. And everybody else has to make decisions. Again, decisions all the way from the executives to the people buying houses to just the people trying to figure out how to live their lives. And again, think about that at scale. One person deciding to buy a computer, right? You know, bringing that purchase forward. Another person not deciding to buy a computer or something, pushing that back. And then thinking that by some percentage of 330 million people all deciding to do something. That is just, makes me nervous. Anyways, my project, if you don't know, is something called silicondojo.com. The idea is, what if high-quality technology education was simply as accessible as water? So you can go to silicondojo.com. We have a number of self-study programs there. We have Python, we have SQL, and we have something called the Bottle Web App Framework. This week I'm going to be starting an Introduction to Programming series. It is all free. It is simply gatekeeperless. You just go and you learn. We have Zoom group Zoom classes and sessions. This week we are going to have a guest, Martin Lehner. He is an MSP owner, managed service provider owner, out of the Yukon Territory up in Canada. So yeah, an American gets to have a conversation with a Canadian this week. Oh, that's gonna be a little uncomfortable. So that'll be Wednesday. If you go to silicondojo.com, you can sign up for that. And we do one-on-one sessions every Monday. I'm doing that in about an hour and a half from 1 to 5 p.m., where I sit for 30 minutes and talk to you folks about the issues that you are having and try to give you some ideas on how to navigate the current insanity. And so with the current insanity going on, I think this life lesson, this lived experience is something that might be useful for you, because I think it kind of shows you how you can lose or how you can win when you think you're going to do the other thing, right? When you think you're going to lose, why you might actually win, and then when you think you're going to win, why you might actually lose. Because one of the big problems I see out there, again, in this modern world of social media, is everybody's like, I'm important. Again, that's the big thing. Again, it's interesting being Buddhist. It's interesting being a Buddhist in this particular time period, because you're like, oh, now I get it. Now I get it. Oh, that's why the ego, that's why there's a problem with the ego. Hey, look at ego at scale. That's probably bad for society. Ego, individually is not necessarily a good thing. Ego at scale. Oh, wow, this is bad. But anyways, one of the big issues, I talk about is everybody wants to talk. Everybody wants to talk nowadays. We have this modern world. Everybody wants to talk. Nobody wants to listen. And so one of the things that I tell you folks is the man who listens in a world where people never shut the hell up can be king. Because you're the one that's sitting there listening to what everybody else wants, and then you simply provide them what they want. It's amazing how valuable that is. What? You mean somebody actually listened to me and then provided me what I asked for? Oh my God. What wonders there are in this modern world. And I think it's interesting, right? So I had a buddy of mine who competed in a local hackathon. So we had a hackathon here in Asheville, North Carolina. And basically he went to the hackathon and he won the hackathon, to my surprise. To my To my very vocal surprise, he won this hackathon. And I thought it was a very curious lesson, because again, it was a bit of a shock. So we had this hackathon. It was a multi-day hackathon. Started Friday night, went to Sunday night. Basically what happened is initially there were 35 people that stood up. They gave their ideas for their businesses or their startups, what they wanted to create. And then out of that, 10 were picked. 10 were picked, and then groups could coalesce around one of those 10. Now, the interesting thing with this particular hackathon is that it was not a technology-based hackathon. You could do a technology startup if you wanted to, but again, it's here. It's Asheville, North Carolina. You know, in Asheville, North Carolina, the real money is in the popcorn. It's not a joke. Poppy's popcorn. Love Poppy's popcorn. But for the love of God, that is our success story. There's one of those points in times when you look at the success story of Asheville, North Carolina, and you're like, well, I mean, dude, I don't want to be snarky because it's some damn good popcorn, and God bless that lady. But seriously, is this our success story? Popcorn. Popcorn is what we're going with. Okay. Well, anyways, again, here in Asheville, North Carolina, the money's in the popcorn. Poppy's popcorn. Okay, great popcorn. But anyways, so they were, you can do startups and all kinds of different things, not just tech. So anyway, so they go through and they do 2.5 days, groups coalesce, the whole 9 yards. That was interesting, right? So we go to the Mule. There's this place called the Mule where a lot of these kind of businessy type things are done. And we go to the Mule, and that's when they're going to do demo night. So demo night at the Mule for these 10 startups that were created or whatever, you know, whatever, during this hackathon. So we go there, my buddy's there, my buddy has this idea, actually a really good idea, I won't talk about it because he is pushing it forward, but he has a good idea. He has a nice, good idea that I support, right? It's great. Good idea, good product, whatever. Anyways, he's got 8 people. They've been working the whole weekend. And so then the first thing, it was interesting. The first thing that happens is that they've got 3 judges, and then the people that are running the hackathon say, okay, who wants to go first? So my buddy's like, we'll go first, which is a good thing, right? Again, y'all just put this out there. If you're in a competitive environment and the authority figures ask who wants to go first, the answer is you want to go first. But anyway, so they go up there and they're going to go first. And the funny thing is my buddy goes up there and he talks about his app. So this is the app and this is what it does and blah, 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 blah. And he gets done after being up there and he's like, how did I do? And I went, I thought you were going to do better. Again, it was an interesting thing. He goes up there, again, good idea, good product, all that kind of stuff. But when he goes up there in front of an audience, he does not do a particularly good job. I gotta say, he did not do a particularly good job. Lots of hymns in there, lots of hums, lots of pauses that went on way too long. So he's like, how did I do? And he's like, I really thought you were better at that kind of thing than apparently you are. But anyways, again, he went up there, he did it, whatever. The curious thing is, though, the curious lesson with this, and I know you're probably sitting there, well, damn, Eli's an asshole. No, I'm not an asshole. Because the thing that concerned me, well, and this was one of the biggest lived experiences, and it's like what really makes me nervous about folks like you, is so after he was done doing a spiel and he comes down, right? You know, people come up to him, and do you know what they tell him? They're like, wow, you did a great job. And then they would walk away, and then I would look at my buddy, and I'd look him square in the eye and say, no, you did not. You did not do a very good job up there. I like your product. You should push your product forward. You did not do a very good job up there. But oh my God, there were so many people that came up to him and I want to tell you, you did a great job up there. And then I'd be sitting beside him going, no, you didn't. No, you just did not. And why I bring this up is this is one of my concerns, for you, especially for a lot of folks like you, is remember, if you're going to go out there and you're going to do a startup, one of the things to really consider is that this is going to be a massive resource drain, right? It's going to cost you money, it's going to cost you time, and it's going to cost you energy. Depending on how much time and money and energy you put into it, you may not be able to carry on a job while you push that particular ball forward, right? So if you have a side project, you have a hobby, whatever, you're going to create a little dog dating app on the side. Who the hell cares? You go, you do your job, whatever, you throw 100, 200 bucks a month into your dog dating app. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. One of the curious things with this particular hackathon, and one of the people that was running the hackathon specifically stated, is the idea with this hackathon is to launch startups for Asheville so that, I don't know, Asheville can be the next God knows what. Right? So one of the points for this hackathon was not to simply experiment, not to simply play, not to simply get people together to create a better community. One of the big things with this hackathon was to actually launch startups so they go forward. And so think about how dangerous this is. And this is the reality. This is why I get mean. This is why I get mean to nice people. Eli, why do you crack nice people in the hoo-haws all the time? Because nice people are fucking evil. Nice people will destroy your entire life. And then they'll be like, well, I was just giving my opinion. Right, so again, it was interesting. All these people came up saying how great he did doing his presentation. And I kept looking at him and going, no, you didn't. And the concern there is if you go to a hackathon, if you're launching your stupid ass little dog dating app, what happens when people that say they care about you, that are being nice, start lying to your face and tell you how good you're doing? Because, right, that's one of the things. So, like, when you launch a startup, or you launch one of these ideas, one of the big questions is validation. How do you validate? How do you validate? Revenue. Revenue is how you validate, right? Anyways, but there's a bigger question out there. Like, how do you validate whether your idea makes sense? How do you validate whether your idea is valuable? How do you validate whether you should push the ball forward? Is this the time to quit your day job, throw all your money on the line, and create the next Google? Or is this the time to, noodle on it in the back while you plod along and figure out something? If you have people coming to you and they are lying, it's not one person lying, it's lie after lie after lie after lie. Think about this. You're getting an echo chamber of lies. You're getting an echo chamber of people telling you how amazing you're doing, right? That is a form of validation that says, hey, maybe you should go forward. And that is dangerous, and that is very dangerous and something to be exceedingly careful about. So anyways, right, so somebody goes up there, he does a spiel, he does a mediocre job at best. He then gets patted on the back, and we got that whole story going. And so anyway, so as we're going along, it's like, he was the first one to go up there. I was like, wow, I think you might do pretty good. I think you might do pretty good with this particular hackathon. Again, good idea and all that. Anyways, then the next person goes up and they do their thing. And then the next person goes up and it's a startup and it's for a system. It's like this healthcare. It's like this health-ish system for a long COVID. And then the woman talks about it and says, well, look, I work for the North Carolina hospital system or whatever else. I've been able to develop this program inside the North Carolina healthcare system, and they want me to privatize this program so that we can push forward and then they can actually buy this program from us. The university, the North Carolina healthcare system knows they need this particular solution. I've been developing this with them, so all they need is for me to privatize this, and literally I've got my first statewide customer. And then I look at my buddy. I'm like, well, second place isn't too bad, dude. And then they go along, and there's another woman there, and she created a company to create clothing for people that have either gone through surgery or have like permanent injuries. So one of the problems, if you've never had to deal with this kind of stuff, is that, once the doctors end up slicing and dicing you, your body doesn't really go back to normal. So like clothes don't necessarily fit the way they used to fit. And it can be very difficult. It can just be very difficult to get into clothing. And so basically with this particular startup, the idea is off-the-shelf clothing doesn't work for a lot of these folks, and bespoke clothing, like there are vendors for bespoke clothing that will actually create clothing specifically for you, is incredibly expensive, and you need like two months lead time. So they have a patent pending. So they actually have a patent on like mostly made clothing. So basically the idea is they have vendors. Oh, in China. So they have these manufacturers in China. Anyways, and what the manufacturers in China do is they produce the clothing, but they leave certain things basically undone so that you can either tighten them up or loosen them up or whatever else. And so what happens is after you go through surgery, or when you're about to go through surgery or whatever else, you contact their company, you tell them exactly what you're going through and what fashions, what styles you want. And then basically what they're able to do is they're able to take an off-the-shelf garment, do a minor amount of tweaking to it, and ship it to you. Therefore, the time is relatively quick, the expense is relatively low, the whole 9 yards, and apparently this is already patent pending. And I looked at my buddy, I was like, well, you know, third is, you know, if you come one of these things, you come out third, you placed. Third is a place, my friend. Anyways, and then they go on, and they have another woman there who's coming up with this thing for bespoke events. So the idea is that young folks don't like to drink alcohol anymore, which is a real thing, right? And then the problem is, though, for events, like so much of the money is around alcohol. So then how do you actually get money out of people if you're not getting money out of them from alcohol? And so she's come up with this whole bespoke event thing. She's actually done a couple of them. Already has like $45,000 in revenue. I was like, oh, okay. So that lady, the North Carolina healthcare system, like literally will buy her product as soon as she's able to commercialize it. This one here, ours is patent pending, and this one here has $45,000 in revenue. Oh, and they go on, and some of them sucked, and some of them were stupid, didn't make a damn bit of sense. But we kind of went along with this kind of thing. Again, there was more stuff out there, but anyways, not going to go into all of it. And so I'm just sitting with my buddy. I was like, wow, hey, look, again, your product is really good. It seems like it makes a lot of sense, the whole 9 yards. You know, if you lose, whatever. And so they go. And the judges, you know, do their thing, and the judges come back, and third place is X. You're like, okay, ba, 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 ba. And second place is Y. You're like, oh, ba, ba, ba. And then, you know, first place is my buddy. And I look at my buddy, I'm like, what? And he's like, I don't know. Like, how the fuck did you win? Anyway, so he goes up there. He gets his team of 8 people. They get in front of this check, like something like $20,000. So it's $5,000 in cash and $15 additional $1,000 and stupid crap nobody actually cares about. Anyways, $20,000 in awards. And they go up there and they take their pictures. And then he comes back. And I'm like, dude, no, seriously, why the hell did you just win that? Revenue, patent, customer in line. You, God bless, you have an app idea. How did you just win this thing? And he was like, I don't know. So anyways, so time goes by. I'm like, dude, I really want to know why the hell you just won that. So time goes by. And then he goes and he talks to the judges after a while, gets some communication with the judges. And basically it comes back to that they scored the best from what the judges were judging on. And again, and this was an actual interesting thing. And so basically one of the things that he said is, so Saturday morning when the hackathon, you know, once they were really starting to get into the hackathon, the first thing that he did is he went to the people that were running the hackathon and said, what are we being judged on? So again, now think about this. From me in the outside world, what impresses me? You know what impresses me? Revenue. Revenue impresses me, right? Patent or pending patents, they're pretty cool. And customer on tap, I like that. That's not as good as revenue, but customer on tap, that's pretty nice, right? That's what I'm judging based off of. If I was the judge for that hackathon, my buddy wouldn't have placed. But here's the important thing to realize. I was not the judge for that hackathon. The judges were the judges. And so anyways, he had gone and he said, what are we actually being judged on? And so they gave him the five criteria that the judges were going to be looking at in order to determine who won the particular event. And then the interesting thing that he said basically, when they were going through and when they were creating their plans and all of that, everything that they did was based off of the criteria they were told the judges were looking at. And so when they went up there, and when my buddy did a moderately adequate job of presenting a startup company, the thing was, within that moderately adequate job, he hit all the points the judges cared about. And that's what brings the win. How many times has your boss told you exactly what they want? You do something else, and then you're surprised when you're the loser. Why is that person getting the promotions and the raises and everything else when they are inferior to me? Could it be that person is actually doing what the hell the boss asked for? Right? You could be a CCIE. You could be a CCIE, understand everything about Cisco. Here's the thing. The boss walks into the warehouse, and you have a pile of cables. Oh my God, you have piles of cables? And the boss is like, Jesus Christ, somebody needs to sort these damn cables so that we can deal with the cables. Right? So you as a CCIE, you're doing all CCIE stuff because you're a real computer person. And then that dumbass, you know what that dumbass is doing? They're wrapping cables. Oh, look at you, wrapping cables all day. I wish I wasn't so important so I could have time to wrap cables, but I'm doing important work. And then that person wrapping cable does all the cable wrapping, puts them into boxes, sorts them out. Here's your 5 foots, here's your 15 foots, here's your USBs, here's your whatever else. And then the boss comes in and goes, so this person over here was pretending to be cool, and this person over here was actually doing the work that needs to be done. Who do you think the boss wants to promote and reward? Right? Again, that's going to be one of the big things with the economic disaster that we're going through. Right? Is again, companies are going to start having to cannibalize themselves. Companies are going to start having to nibble on their damn toes. Why is a company nibbling on their toes? Well, it's something. The company needs to eat. And so if all you got is toe, you're going to be eating toe, right? So anyways, right? One of the things to be thinking about is do you understand what your executives care about? Do you understand what your boss cares about? I think about that back when I was in the corporate world. I got a lot of stuff in the corporate world. I got to go to whatever training I wanted to, whatever I wanted. And one of the reasons is the bosses told us they needed everything to go through the work order system. So Tivoli, do we have Tivoli? I think it was called Tivoli back in the day. Anyways, we had this work order system. And so they basically said, don't do any work until the employee calls it into the help desk and they create a work order. And then past that, do the work. Right? And so the other employees, the people on the team, somebody would ask them for help and they would just fix the problem. Right? I was told by the boss, we need these work orders so that we can track what you're doing so that when we go to the other executives, we have something to argue against. Right? If we say, hey, we need another person on this team or we need more resources, and it only shows that you're doing 5 work orders a day, basically to the other executives, they're gonna be like, what this lazy ass needs more help? Maybe if they get fired, you can actually hire a decent fucking technology professional. Well, the thing is, they were actually doing 15 or 20 work orders a day, or they were doing the work of 15 or 20 work orders, but they were only processing 5. Because they weren't demanding that the people that were supporting actually get the work orders created. Again, I go, and just anytime anybody asks me to do work, I'm like, okay, call in help desk, get a work order. Oh, but it's like, look, I'm not going to touch your system until I get a work order, right? Forces them to get a work order. Ergo, I have 3 times as many work orders as the fellow people on my team. I call up the boss. I say, hey, I need this. They're like, I don't know. I'm like, look, I got 3 times the work orders as everybody else on the team. I'm not even actually saying I was that much more productive, to be frank with you. I'm just saying, hey, I'm actually doing the work you're telling us to do so that when you go to the higher ups, you have the paperwork to show them. Right? And that's the kind of thing to be considering. Again, like a lot of technology professionals, they don't want to do the paperwork. They don't want to do documentation. They don't want to do things like work orders or tracking systems or any of that type of thing. But think about it, right? When your company is gnawing on its toes, when the CEO is sitting there and it's like, okay, which toe are we gonna eat today? Are we gonna eat the big toe? We're hungry. We're hungry. So the big toe, oh, that'll keep us going for a couple hours. On the other hand, once you eat the big toe is gone forever. So maybe we do the pinky toe. Maybe if we eat the pinky toe, right, it'll keep us going long enough until maybe we can find a peanut butter sandwich somewhere. And if we've lost the pinky toe, we lost the pinky toe. Who the hell cares? Right? So think about this. Your managers are trying to figure out the equivalent of what toe your company eats. And if you have people running around basically saying what the bosses should do, saying what the bosses should care about and whatever else, versus you're running around and you're actually like, hey boss, what actually matters? And they're like, hey, look, we got these investors online, the whole 9 yards. The thing that they care about is X, Y, or Z. You're like, okay, great. I'm gonna spit polish X, Y, or Z, right? I think that is going to end up allowing you to be far more successful at the end of the day. And that's the thing to realize. Again, as I keep talking about, right? We need to treat everybody as human beings. Again, we need to be nicer to black people. Let's put that on. I'll say it every video. I'll say every video. In the United States, we should be nicer to black people. But on the same hand, right? We need to be nicer to warehouse workers, and we need to be nicer to secretaries, and we really need a healthcare system that makes a damn bit of sense. I don't care whether it's socialized or capitalist, but either way, we can't afford it. It's either going to bankrupt you or it's going to bankrupt the government, and the way we're going is going to bankrupt both of us. That is not a healthcare system that works out well. But anyways, right? Just like we need to help and support normal people. The other important thing to understand is that your bosses are people too. Your bosses have jobs that you may not understand. Your bosses are being graded on criteria that you may not know about or you may not understand. And the people that help them retain their damn jobs are the ones that are most likely to keep theirs. And so if you go in and if you talk to your managers, if you talk to your owners, if you talk to your executives as actual human beings and you ask them, what is it you really need out of us? You'll be surprised how far that'll get you. Because sometimes it's not about the profit. It's not about the pending patents. It's not about the customers on tap. It's, did you do the criteria we asked you for? And many times that is gonna be what wins at the end of the day. And you may be confused because you're like, I don't understand. Those seemed like far superior, ideas and implementations and everything else. But they didn't hit the metrics that the people in authority were actually looking at. So anyways, there you go. Something to think about. Something to ponder. Anyways, I've got to go have some lunch because I'll be talking with folks in about an hour. Hear people's problems. Eli, how do I get a job? Eli, how do I get a job when the economy slides? I don't know. Learn how to surf, motherfucker. Learn how to surf. Mud surfing. Mud surfing is going to be the sport of 2025. Oh, I do feel bad. Like, oh, I get so many. It's like, Eli, how do I get a job? Like, oh, dude, I don't know. Ask me what stack to use. Ask me Windows versus Mac. Ask me JavaScript versus Python. How do I get a job? How do I get a job? When the senile old loser is trying to destroy the economy and thinks that they're winning. Hell if I know. But anyways, that's all I've got to say for right now. See y'all later.